All right, guys, I'm super excited to have on the show with us today. Another really crazy, creepy horror film just came out. It's called The Twin, deals with all kinds of subgenres of horror, all kind of coming in to make what is a really well acted, and I'm excited to talk to our guest this week because it's a really beautifully shot horror film. It is The Twin. I have the cinematographer, Daniel Lindholm, with me to talk all about it. Daniel, how are you doing this morning? Or I should say evening, where you are located. How are you doing, man? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, man. I'm doing really well. Thank you for asking. It's great. I mean, it's now already some time since the premiere and stuff, but yeah, I'm super excited about this movie. Very excited.
Well, this film, it really does, like, it rings a lot of like subgenre horror bells. Like, you're dealing with the loss of a child, and you're dealing with the supernatural element, and then later on it deals with like almost like Satanism, like the occult, like what is this little boy kind of found his way into, like what deals have been made behind the scenes. And then as it starts to turn, I mean, the acting performance that he puts in, you know, the young kid is super creepy. But overall, I thought that this was a cool horror film that had like aspects of a lot of classics, like, yeah, anything supernatural, or even like his aesthetic and his performance reminded me a lot of like Damien from The Omen. But overall, I thought
Sorry,
that
sorry, I just
overall,
with the sound, but I'm good now. Sorry, I missed the last part you said.
no, I was just gonna say that, you know, the acting performance in the movie
Yeah.
by the young boy Tristan Ruggeri, he reminded me, like, when the movie takes the turn and it gets like really dark, which the subject matter from the get-go is dark, but I mean it gets really dark. He reminds me a lot of almost like the performance of like Damien in The Omen, where like starts out as a normal kid and then progressively this darkness overshadows him. But tell me, man, what was this film like for you? What was it that kind of brought you in and got you excited to be able to shoot it as the cinematographer?
Yeah, it's a fact that I actually had a little bit of a break. This is my eighth movie that I've shot, but I had kind of needed like a 3.5 year break actually, a little bit from the movies. I was shooting more commercials and the shorter projects because I felt that I really wanted the next one to be special, also because I have a child and so on. So I kind of like I had a little bit of break, you know, and I was really active as a DOP, but I hadn't shot a movie for a while. There was some scripts coming my way, but yeah, I just didn't find the right one. And then this one, when it came along, of course, I know the producer and the director very well. We've been working together since film school actually. So
Mhm.
so we did Lake Bodom like what is it, 6 years ago or something like that. Our first horror film together, which was amazing as well, a great experience. But so I kind of like I knew that this project was coming and in development for a long time and so on. So I was kind of aware of it and I was following it like from quite the get go, and reading scripts and so on. And so yeah, I mean, I was aware of it for a very long time. But then when it got like ready the script and I was reading it, I was like, wow, this is very interesting because I felt because it's such a multi-layered and psychology story that it has also like the visual side is going to be very special to create. I mean, the world is a very important fact that how it's like built up. So I knew it, of course, by reading the script and also working with the guys earlier that we're going to be able to make something really special. And we put a lot of love and craft into the project because basically we were, already a lot before shooting, we were already looking at locations and planning and so on. So kind of like, maybe to put it short, basically we put a lot of time into this. so
For
so
sure,
so
for
that's
sure.
one thing that that where sometimes you come in and you prep and then you do it and then you're done. But I mean, this was like a long thing boiling up, So we had really time to to try to make it as good as possible. We were very like motivated and excited. We knew that this is going to be something special. And then, of course, the last drop was when we were able to, they were able to confirm that Theresa Palmer will act in the movie. That was just that was very special as well. I think that's her character is just amazing. Of course, I mean the boy. I mean he also it's a big long casting process, and they find Tristan is amazing. I mean he's so good. But I mean I think that's the thing that and of course Steven and Barbara as well. All the cast is very nice, and I think the story is very interesting, and it gives a lot of room for the cinematography to elevate it.
Yeah, some of the like the scene decorating and the set location choices were so unique to this film, and I can imagine that just comes with you guys filming it. I would imagine you guys filmed it out there where you are located, right?
Yeah, it's actually a funny thing. We shot it in Estonian countryside, most of it. I mean, we're from Finland with the director and producer, and most of the editors and the composers. The art director, the production designer, she's from Estonia. She's really great. But we shot it in Estonian countryside actually, and we scouted a lot, and we found this. I think everything comes together when we found the house, because it's a big part of the story, and it's a character in itself. And that house was just so amazing because it's basically had it all. It had the exterior. It looked perfect from outside, and we could work there. And the interior was also perfect. I mean, it had the stairs and all the rooms and so on. So it just it just worked out so well, and it fitted our color palette as well pretty well. Of course, there's art department has done it much better. But basically, it's shot on location, outside and inside, same place. So it's kind of nice. There's no studio faking, there. Everything
Yeah.
is real. And then it's only basically when you go up to the attic where the boys' room is. That's in a separate location, but it matches very well. So yeah, I mean that location nailed it, and then we started to find other places quite around, and yeah, it was just very nice. I think the locations and the sets were just very good. So it was a privilege to work there.
It is interesting to me because that's one thing in film school. I graduated film school over the course of the pandemic. And one of the things that they had just kind of uh, begun to instruct, like, so we caught the tail end, but you could kind of tell that this is where film production was going. And it really is the stagecraft technology. I don't know if you're familiar with like what's going on in the States with like stuff like Lucasfilm, and now it's even more so where you have like these huge empty stages, and now the thing to do is like fill the perimeter with LED, and now you're kind of filling in the gap. So the fact that you guys went out to the actual location and you're seeing like the house, and like you just mentioned, because that's one thing that is very common is you have the exterior shot, and then as you move in to a sound stage or you move into another location, whether it be palette, room, whatever, to get all the equipment in there to be able to film the scenes inside, it's usually always a different location. So the fact that the house provided enough room for you guys to operate, and it looked how you guys wanted it to kind of get that continuation of inside outside, there is no noticeable break or separation there. It really added to the general aesthetic, and I'm jealous in the fact that you guys got to film it where you did, because we ain't got nothing like that in the States. Like maybe on the eastern coast, where the history is a couple hundred years old, but really those European that whole area, whenever there's a true horror film and you can tell that it's filmed on location, just the weight of the history that is there adds so much more to it, I think.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, for me, of course, I've worked a lot in studios as well, and combining with location, even of course, like more post production work and so on. But I felt that this really the thing is, there's something special when it's kind of like it's live. Basically, everything is live. Of course, we have some visual effects, and what I like about those, there are not many, but what I like about those that they are also very organic and kind of like you don't see them. But yeah, exactly. In the house and the surroundings, there's basically no tricks. It's just like also in the lighting, kind of this how I wanted to approach this film was this, I wanted to feel, of course, I mean we elevate, and some scenes have very strong character because of the suspense and whatnot, but kind of the general mood of the movie is that it doesn't look like forced. It doesn't look lit. So that's what we were aiming for. And it is very much lit. I mean, the house is lit with. It was complex. It was very high up, so it had a lot of lights on lifters and whatnot. But there were bigger lights further away, so it kind of looks natural. And then, of course, in the night we could change those colors and use the LEDs and to get the colors right for that. But we kind of we aim to make it look pretty. It's heightened like cinema, but it still doesn't look forced. So that's something I'm very excited about. That it's kind of like it feels like that you don't see okay, there's the very strong light and stuff like that. So of course there are scenes like that as well because it's a horror, but kind of the general mood is kind of realism. And it's always also for me was very exciting because I wanted to shoot it on full frame. I wanted a lot of information in the pictures, and it was so nice that Cook just came out with the full frame anamorphic lenses. So I actually shot this anamorphic full frame, and that was just wow because of the sets. So you could have really wide beautiful images, and it's very nice. It has a lot of wide images because of the surroundings. There's things to show, so it's cool.
If they haven't seen the movie yet, when they watch it, they'll know exactly what you're talking about.
I think some people in our business will understand. Yes, maybe the normal viewer will just feel the white and the kind of it's like a. The normal viewer will feel it like not in a way that we know, but I think it will still be a good thing for them that they can experience those locations like we shot them basically. Yeah.
So I've talked to a bunch of people over the course of the pandemic in the industry, and they all have unique stories about how they were able to complete the project, whether it be reduced crew sizes, multiple locations, of course rapid testing all the time. I'm curious, how is it over there in the film industry? Are you guys pretty much fully, would you say that the industry is kind of fully recovered as far as production, and it is where it is right now is kind of where it's going to be? Or do you see working as a cinematographer that adjustments are still being made all the time? How is it working over there right now?
I mean, it's very. This spring has been very good for me personally. I've been shooting mostly commercials now, internationally. I've been traveling quite a lot, so it's been quite good now. Of course, during the pandemic, it was harder, and I was working more locally. But I was lucky enough to get by. But this film was kind of an amazing thing because it was shot during the pandemic. But the funny thing that we were basically living in the countryside, in Estonia, and we were in our own bubble. Kind of of course we were tested all the time and stuff like this, but yeah, we were in our own bubble. So it was kind of, we made it. But of course it got some cuts, we lost maybe some days because of that as well, because it was costs and stuff like this. But yeah, I mean, we were able to pull it off. I'm so excited about that, because it was the pandemic, but we were in a place where there were not many people, other people than the ones that are working on the film. so in that sense, we were able to pull it off. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, it's pretty good now. But of course, there were 1 year maybe at least that was very tough. But I think here in Scandinavia, it's been pretty okay. I mean, how the government has handled it, and it's pretty normal now. And the demand for TV series and of course movies and everything there's a demand. So we have to do it. We have to be able to do it somehow.
For sure.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned her at the top of the interview, but getting Theresa as your, the star of this thing. Like, that is a good get. She has a following, obviously. She is known to horror fans, obviously. What was it like getting to capture her in person as the cinematographer?
That was probably one of my most like favorite things about this movie, because I think working with her was just an amazing experience. I mean, I'm not saying I haven't worked with other great actors as well, but this was special because I think she was also just like being a very good actor, you know, and understanding her character and delivering amazing performances. She was also very nice to work with as a cinematographer, because I think uh, she wanted also to, you know, collaborate with me, and you know, she knows a lot about how it works, so she knows about where how to help me basically, and that makes her performance better. So it was just a very good collaboration, and I was just, you know, one thing I can say is it's funny. Usually, as a DOP, cinematographer, you love the big images, but very often in this movie, when we were close to her and it was good acting, it was okay. This is probably the best shot of the scene. But yeah, to sum it up, it's just how professional she was, you know, and experienced with camera work. So that just, it made it, you know, just so much. I think also because we had limited time, it made it, you know, faster to work, because it was you know, when we blocked it, it went everything always went very smoothly. So yeah, it was a very good collaboration for me. It was very, very nice.
Yeah, everybody always has different movies that made them want to make movies. So what was it for you? You knew that like film was your passion. You wanted to be a director of photography, cinematographer.
Yeah, that's of course a very, very good question. It's like something you could talk about very long. Maybe I can sum it up is that I kind of had both my parents were working at the national broadcasting company
Oh,
as
okay.
kind of journalists and you know, producers a little bit. My father was more on the radio, like producer. So I got into some kind of like acting as a child a little bit. So I got to do some small TV roles and some radio actually. So I kind of got into this acting as a kid a little bit. And then I had this like when I was a teenager, I was doing some, you know, graffiti art, and I studied photography. I'm taking like pictures of that. So that's how kind of okay. Then I got into photography. So I had kind of like this kind of little bit of acting as a child, and then this photography thing. So that kind of combined, and that then I became very interested in cinematography actually. I don't know, when I was quite young, when I applied to film school, I got in, you know, with the first take. So I'm very happy because I chose cinematography then. And I'm not sure I exactly know what it was going to be, how much it was about the lighting and so on as well. But that's kind of how I got into to film school, basically. Those two things combined, photography and a little bit of acting. And then in film school, like maybe this movie thing is I just one example. There were movies, of course, before, but one very big example for me when we were watching like the film print of Seven, the movie by David Fincher, shot by Darius Condi. It was kind of some kind of a bible for the guys and girls as well in that time at the cinematography department, because our professor was showing it and we were talking about it and you know, analyzing it and you know, the darkness of it, and I got kind of like very, very inspired by also the shadows, let's say it like that, you know, that you know, of course, cinematography is light, but it's also a lot about the shadows and the combination and so on. So that movie was a very like inspiring movie when I was in film school. That's maybe something I want to just mention.
It's funny because I would say that anybody who has been to film school and is working in the industry, if I had to ballpark it within the last like 20 years. So if you go back to like 2000, let's say you're starting your career in, you know, early 2000s and you've been
Exactly.
like that movie gets brought up a lot. Like
Yeah.
Fincher's Seven is talked about as one of those like points of reference, especially in horror, obviously, a lot. Because that movie really was at the time very groundbreaking, very different. And it seems like horror always comes in like these waves of kind of like what's new or new technique. And that movie broke the window, I think, on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the cinematography is just off the charts, but it's also like I mean how great it's like how storytelling wise and all the different departments, but especially how controlled it is. I mean, I'm inspired, of course. I also try to control the frame as a cinematographer, and I think basically how David Fincher always moves the camera when it's motivated, and he's very like precise with everything. So it was just like very interesting, and it kind of made a mark, I think, in some sense. Like, and I started film school 2001, so yeah, it's spot on the year, the years kind of like so yeah. It's just yeah, I think it's just so such a well done movie, and in all departments, and I think it's something you drew a lot of inspiration from. And yeah, basically in this movie as well, of course, for me, I try to make very cinematic images. I love to do cinematics, and so on. I basically shot this movie a bit. I think it could be like texture-wise, and lensing, and this. It also has a aspect kind of like a high-end drama, a little bit like it's very it's taught always that how we move the camera, do we move it, and how it's lit, and compositions and everything, and then of course it's elevated by some like creating the suspense and the tension, and also like scaring the audience. Of course, that then of course is elevated as well, separately with the camera and the lighting. But I mean, if I'm just talking about some compositions and how, many scenes, it's also like it's not just like this is horror. It's kind of like I don't think that I mean, of course the director is super good with horror. He's been a like horror fan since very like a child, so he knows a lot. And when we collaborate, it's great. But also this just that it's not always I think it's good to also have this room for the acting, for example. It's also drama to give depth to the characters and so on. So it's kind of a mix of these things. How I basically approached the film.
The movie too, it has like different, like you're touching on different types of scares and different types. It's going to resonate, I think, with each viewer depending on what they're looking to get out of it scare wise in a different manner. Was there one you mentioned, you having a kid of your own? Was there like an aspect to this story as you were shooting it that you were like, man, this is actually gonna scare the hell out of some people?
Yeah, I mean, I understood it even more when I was shooting it. But when I read the script, I was actually a little bit like I could feel that this is pretty tense, this moment, and wow, this scene is really like people are going to be on their toes. Of course, when you watch the movie and the movie, you don't think about it that much. But I
Right.
mean, at the premiere, for example, I saw people that, yeah, they were talking. Some people, they were super scared. Like, like even a grown man says, that, hey, man, I couldn't watch. I had to look the other way. Stuff like this. So it's yeah, for sure it had. And as we were shooting, you could see that this will be really, when you add the right kind of music and sound, it will be a really scary scene. Of course, and also this kind of how, I mean, what I think in horror it's also what do you show and what do you not show, and does the characters see this and we see this, and it's you can elevate it a lot. We have this some of like this long camera moving through the house and finding basically something at the end, and these kind of things are of course really like bringing up some suspense. And of course then this genre always has some kind of a jump scares. I mean, this movie has there's those as well. I mean, like the horror genre should have. I mean, there are a few ones where you're definitely going to jump out of your seat. But yeah, I think the director is very good. Tanley is very good with that stuff. He's very good.
When you guys were
So
staging some of the jumps, when you guys are staging some of the jump scares, you get any good outtakes? I know, like in student films, when we were like trying to stage like a startle or something, that was always the time when we would like have the most outtakes because we're sitting here and we're set up to stage this scare, and you got to do it from different angles and everything. But the the repetition of staging the scare, by the time we were done, it was almost like inside joke, like we are all sitting here the scary guy is over here. We got to have him pop out and scare the actress. And after like 5 times, the crew and we're all kind of like smirking behind the camera. Was there a good scare that you guys like were just having fun off the set or anything?
Basically, I think the Theresa, of course, she doesn't need. I don't think like this. I think it's more like we were scaring the audience. We
Yeah,
were not we were not scaring the actors in that sense. It was more like staged for the audience. So
sure.
we did. I don't think we had kind of like. But of course, there's always like I don't know how much I can spoil the movie, but there's one scene. I try to not to tell too much, but basically there's something under the table, so
Yeah,
and how to shoot that, and basically because it's all fake, and if you make it a little bit wrong, it looks silly.
right.
But when it's just right, it works, and when it's edited, it's perfect. But I mean, yeah, basically, if you just when it went not as it should go, it was basically a bit of a laughter because it just looks silly, if it's
Yeah,
not in the right light, in the right composition, or whatever. It's something like that is super scary, just can look very silly because some guy is operating something over there, and it just
really
looks
sad.
weird. Yeah, you're laughing basically as
Yeah.
you're doing it many times over and over again like that. Yeah, of course, there are these kind of humor moments a lot, yeah, while you're filming. Yeah, of course.
The film right now, is it widely, do you know, is it widely available? Is it available for people to stream right now?
I mean, it's a shot. It's through Shudder.
Okay, so yeah,
Shudder. So they have it's streamed on Shudder, and it's also like what I've heard. It's in cinemas in like 33 countries,
oh wow,
which is very interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's like very nice that it has been going to cinemas as well. So but it's on Shudder. It's streaming at the moment. Yes.
Yeah, Shudder always, at least here in the States, is a great catalog for horror fans, especially films, international horror films that we may never have even learned about, have gotten a look at. They do a really good job of cycling their library pretty constantly, and so the fact that it's also playing in theaters is huge. If Shudder is backing it, but then it's also getting a theater release somewhere, that is cool. That makes me hope that eventually, hopefully, that happens more and more with Shudder sending some of their stuff that they're picking up to a wider distribution. That's awesome.
I mean, it's for me personally as a cinematographer, of course, because I think I really crafted it, for the big screen as well. I mean, I think it holds, it's not only like a streamer in that sense. If you think I think the quality of the film, even if it's kind of an indie film, it's still like for me definitely a really good experience. I would say on the big screen, and I'm very happy about that. Yes, it's very nice.
Definitely, man. Well, Daniel, where can everybody, yeah, Instagram or Twitter, anything? Where can everybody keep track and see what you have coming out next?
Well, yeah, of course. Like I'm on Instagram because I guess even if I'm 43 years old, it's okay. It's pictures, and it's about your life, and
100%.
about the kind of projects you are filming and so on. So yeah, I'm there. Like you can of course find me by Daniel Lindholm, but the username is Lindholmster, Lindholmster. So yeah, of course I keep kind of a selected posting, but yeah, I do a post from work stuff, because I think it's nice to share experiences through behind the scenes and whatnot, through there. It's a good forum for that.
It's kind of cool to see your mindset on the social media because Americans love to post. Like
Yeah,
they'll post what they had for breakfast. So
yeah.
to hear you kind of like, yeah, occasionally I share, but it's there if you want to check it out. That's
Yeah, I guess it's like it's maybe the age thing, but or maybe not. I mean, but it's still, of course, I'm a cinematographer and I love to take pictures. So of course, I mean, it's a natural place
100%.
to put some nice pictures. But it feels like I don't know if it's not for me very interesting thing to post. I don't think why would anybody be interested in that. I think people, of course, like are connected with me there. Many are in the business, so I think they're interested of a lighting setup and not kind of if I had some nice breakfast plate somewhere. But yeah, I think it's like that. So yeah, I mean, maybe it's also a little bit of the Scandinavian way. That you're a little bit like, of course, I feel I'm a very social guy, but there's a little bit of a limit of how much you want to tell everybody about yourself.
Well, I thank you for coming on our show, man. And if you haven't seen The Twin yet on Shudder, I definitely recommend it. It is a creepy film. If you're lucky enough to get to go see it in the actual theater, I double recommend that, because that's, if you listen to my show, the recommendation is always see it in the theater the way that it was meant to be seen over at home. But the pandemic has definitely changed everybody's comfortability level. But the good news is, depending on where you are watching this or listening to it, you may have both options available to check out this film that Daniel shot, and this crew put together a really creepy story. So thank you again for taking the time out, and we look forward to seeing what you're working on next.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really hope that everybody involved that put a lot of passion to this film will, that people will watch it, because yeah, there was a lot of work and a lot of love put into this project. So thank you.
Right on.